All right, let's jump right in. We're diving deep into Janet Evanovich's Now or Never today.
Oh, this is a good one.
I bet you've got stacks of notes and articles ready to go.
You know it. I think this deep dive will be especially fun because Now or Never has everything.
It does, right? We've got the classic Stephanie Plum antics, the quirky characters, and of course, a whole lot of romance.
Speaking of romance, let's talk about those marriage proposals. Right off the bat, Stephanie's got two on her plate.
I mean, talk about pressure. Joe Morelli, the steady, reliable cop, and Ranger, the dangerous and mysterious security expert.
It's the ultimate dilemma for Stephanie, isn't it? Stability versus excitement. The familiar versus the unknown.
Yeah, I mean, who could blame her for being a little hesitant? And let's not forget how she sort of accepts Morelli's proposal.
Classic Stephanie, right? Committing, but not fully committing. It's a theme that runs throughout the whole series.
Oh, totally. It's like she wants to have her cake and eat it too. And the reactions from the other characters are priceless.
Oh, I know. Lula is speechless, which is a rare occurrence.
And even Connie at the bail bond office is making the sign of the cross. If Connie is worried, you know it's serious.
Exactly. It really highlights the weight of Stephanie's decision.
Speaking of the bail bond office, we have to talk about the FTAs Stephanie's dealing with in this book. They're pretty unforgettable.
Oh, for sure. First, we've got Eugene Fleck, who starts as a simple porch pirate, stealing packages off people's porches.
Right, but it doesn't stop there. He decides he's a modern-day Robin Hood.
Yeah, he starts hijacking delivery trucks and giving away the stolen goods to the poor. It's crazy.
Then we have Bruno Jug, an aging mobster with a soft spot for pretty girls, and a tiny attacked Chihuahua.
Don't forget about Mr. Big. That Chihuahua is a legend.
He is. Evanovich really knows how to create these larger-than-life characters, doesn't she?
Absolutely, and they fit so perfectly into the world of Trenton, New Jersey. It's a place where the ordinary and the outrageous collide on a daily basis.
Which brings us to Robin Hoodie. Is Eugene really the man behind the mask? The evidence is pretty circumstantial.
Right, but those Robin Hoodie videos really captured the imagination of Trenton. Homeless people getting food and shelter, kids getting new toys.
All while he remains anonymous. It definitely makes you think about those real-world examples of vigilantism.
It's a tricky question, isn't it? Is it okay to break the law for a good cause? Where do we draw the line between right and wrong?
It's something Evanovich explores really well through Robin Hoodie. And then, of course, we have to talk about Zoran.
Oh, yeah. Things take a dark turn with him. He claims to be a vampire, but he's much more dangerous than anyone realizes at first.
That scene in the laundromat is chilling. The dead body, the blood, Zoran's escape. It's a whole different vibe for a Stephanie Plum novel.
It definitely throws you off balance, considering the lighthearted tone we're used to. It's like Evanovich is saying, hey, pay attention, this is serious.
Yeah, it definitely raises the stakes. Suddenly, it's not just about capturing an FTA, it's about stopping a killer.
Yeah, it really forces Stephanie to confront a level of violence and darkness that she hasn't dealt with before.
So, the hunt for Zoran begins. We see Stephanie using all her wits and street smarts to track him down.
What's interesting is that she relies as much on her knowledge of Trenton and her connections as she does on any physical skills.
It's what makes her so relatable, right? She's not a superhero, she's just resourceful and determined, and she's got good people around her.
And let's not forget the found family aspect. It's a recurring theme in these novels, and it plays a big role in this one too.
Absolutely. It's not always blood ties, it's the people, and sometimes animals you least expect to have your back.
Speaking of animals, I won't spoil too much, but let's just say a certain Chihuahua plays a crucial role in Zoran's capture.
Oh, Mr. Big, he's a fan favorite for sure.
And for good reason.
Yeah.
So we've got a lot going on in Now or Never, a wild plot, unforgettable characters, and Stephanie caught between two very different futures.
Amidst all the chaos, Evanovich also drops some subtle hints and foreshadowing. There's also a lot of humor, but underneath it all, there's this underlying tension and anxiety that I think she explores really well.
You hit the nail on the head. Pay attention to the choices Stephanie makes, but also the choices she avoids. Trust me, there's a lot to unpack.
There is. It's a book that rewards multiple readings.
Absolutely. Now let's delve a bit deeper into that chilling encounter Stephanie had with Zoran in the laundromat.
Okay, yeah, let's break that scene down because it's a real turning point in the narrative.
Right, up until that point, the tone has been pretty lighthearted, Classic Evanovich humor.
But that laundromat scene, it's like a punch to the gut.
It is. The discovery of the dead body, the blood, Zoran's escape, it's a whole other level of darkness.
And it really impacts Stephanie.
Oh, totally. She's visibly shaken, calling Morelli in a panic. She's struggling to process the sheer horror of what she's witnessed.
This is not the unflappable Stephanie we're used to seeing.
Right. It's like this encounter forces her to confront a level of violence that she's never dealt with before.
And it makes her question her own capabilities, her own resilience.
She even admits that she can't shake the image of the dead woman, the blood. It clearly leaves a scar on her.
It's a pivotal moment in the book, and let's not forget Lula's reaction.
Oh, man. Lula, who's usually fearless and always ready with a joke, she faints at the sight of the crime scene.
It really underscores the severity of the situation.
It does. This scene is a deliberate shift in tone, and it sets the stage for a much more intense and high-stakes story.
It also makes you wonder how this experience will change Stephanie moving forward. Will she be more cautious? Will she be haunted by what she saw?
It's one of the many questions Evanovich leaves us to ponder.
Speaking of questions, let's talk about Robin Hoodie. He's such an intriguing character, and he brings up some complex moral issues.
He does, doesn't he? He's a criminal, a thief, but his actions are seemingly motivated by this desire to help those in need.
Right. Remember those scenes where he's distributing stolen goods to the homeless and showering children with toys? It's hard not to be charmed by him.
I know, but then you have to ask yourself, does the end justify the means? Can a criminal also be a hero?
And then there's the mystery surrounding his identity. Is it really Eugene Fleck? Evanovich does a great job of keeping us guessing.
She really does. She drops these little clues and red herrings along the way, like when Stephanie finds evidence that suggests Eugene might have an accomplice.
Right. It makes you wonder if Eugene is the mastermind or just a pawn in someone else's game.
It's a puzzle that keeps you hooked until the very end.
And what's interesting is how Evanovich uses this Robin Hoodie mystery to explore themes of social justice and inequality. His actions, however illegal they may be, highlight the plight of the disadvantaged in Trenton.
Exactly. It makes you think about the systems in place, the failures that can lead people to take desperate measures.
And it's not just Robin Hoodie. Stephanie herself constantly wrestles with these ethical dilemmas, like her conflicted feelings about Zoran, for example.
Oh, for sure. On one hand, he's a dangerous fugitive who needs to be apprehended.
Yeah.
But on the other hand, there's a part of her that recognizes his humanity, the pain that might be driving his actions.
It's a testament to Ivanovich's skill as a writer that she doesn't give us easy answers. She presents these complex characters and situations that challenge our own moral compasses.
She does. And it's what makes her books so engaging and thought-provoking.
So we've got Stephanie, caught between two marriage proposals, a vampire on the loose, a mysterious Robin Hood figure. What else could possibly happen in this book?
Well, remember Bruno Jug, that aging mobster with a penchant for pretty girls and his fierce little Chihuahua.
Oh, Mr. Big. He's one of my favorite characters.
He's a classic. So Stephanie sets out to apprehend Bruno, but as you might expect, things don't go exactly according to plan.
I can only imagine what kind of chaos does she stumble into this time.
Picture this. Instead of a routine capture, she finds herself face-to-face with Bruno in his pajamas, armed with a spoon.
Oh my gosh, only Stephanie Plum could find herself in a situation like that.
It's pure Evanovich, right?
Yeah.
This perfect blend of suspense and absurdity. And, it wouldn't be a Stephanie Plum adventure without a wardrobe malfunction.
What happens this time? Does she lose another shoe?
Not quite. Let's just say there's a mishap involving Bruno's wife, a gun, and Stephanie ending up in Bruno's pajamas.
I can't even imagine. And where does Lula fit into all of this?
Oh, Lula is, as always, a force of nature. She's there with her outrageous outfits and hilarious commentary, providing a much-needed dose of comic relief.
Okay, but the real question is, does Stephanie manage to bring Bruno in?
I won't spoil the ending for you, but let's just say it involves a helicopter, a fruit basket, and a whole lot of chaos.
That sounds about right. It's a testament to Ivanovich's ability to keep us guessing and keep us entertained. You never quite know what's going to happen next in a Stephanie Plum novel.
It's one of the things that keeps her readers coming back for more. And, amidst all the craziness, there are these quieter moments that really stand out.
Like what?
Like those scenes where Stephanie is trying to have a normal date with Morelli, even though her life is anything but normal.
Yeah.
It's almost heartbreaking in a way, because you can see how much she longs for that stability, that sense of normalcy.
Right. She's trying to balance this chaotic professional life with her desire for a stable, loving relationship. And it's not easy.
Not at all. And it makes you question whether that kind of life is even possible for someone like Stephanie Plum.
Maybe that's the question Ivanovich wants us to ask ourselves. Can we ever truly escape our past, our nature? Or are we destined to repeat the same patterns over and over again?
It's definitely something to think about as we continue our deep dive.
Okay, so we've covered a lot of ground in this first part. We've talked about the marriage proposals, the FTAs, the mysterious Robin Hoodie, the terrifying Zoran, and of course, the always entertaining Bruno Jug.
And we've only just scratched the surface. There's so much more to explore in Now or Never.
But before we move on to the next part, let's take a moment to appreciate those smaller details that make Ivanovich's writing so special. The humor, the quirky characters, the way she captures the essence of Trenton, New Jersey.
It's a world that's both familiar and completely unique. And it's a world that I, for one, never get tired of visiting.
Me neither. Now, let's take a quick break and come back for part 2, where we'll delve into some of these elements in even more detail.
All right, welcome back. Glad we're picking up right where we left off. Remember all those missing women cases? There's more to them than meets the eye.
Oh, yeah, definitely. We have Rosa Sanchez vanishing into thin air, then Maryanne disappears without a clue, and then Julie Weirley, her parents, come home to a blood trail leading right out of the house. It's creepy stuff.
It is. And when you consider Zoran and his thing with blood, well, it definitely adds another layer to it.
Totally. It makes you wonder if this is even a normal FTA anymore, right? Like, is this something way more sinister than Stephanie usually handles? And remember, they never found Julie's body.
That's right, nobody.
Yeah.
So you're left wondering, is she alive? Is Zoran holding her captive somewhere? And it's not just the cases that are stressing Stephanie out.
Her personal life is, as always, a mess.
Oh, yeah, always a mess. Remember those scenes where she's trying to have these normal dates with Morelli, even while she's running around dealing with vampires and missing persons?
It's kind of funny, but kind of sad, too. Like, does she really think she can have that normal life?
I mean, can she? She obviously wants that stable, loving relationship with Morelli, but there's this part of her that just thrives on the crazy.
Right. And then there's Ranger, always lurking in the background.
Oh, Ranger. He's like the forbidden fruit,
Yeah.
right? The danger, the mystery, the bad boy.
Totally. And Stephanie's definitely drawn to that. I mean, how could she not be?
I know, right? And then, on top of all that, she's dealing with this possible unplanned pregnancy.
That's right. It's like everything is happening at once.
I know. And it really shows how Evanovich isn't afraid to dive into these darker, heavier themes, you know? This isn't just fluff. There are real consequences to Stephanie's actions.
Oh, for sure. This book definitely has more depth than some of the others. So what about the final showdown with Zoran? How does all this crazy stuff come to a head?
Well, as we touched on earlier, it's not some big epic fight scene. It's actually a series of events that are pretty unexpected. Like, remember how Stephanie gets drugged?
Yeah, and abducted. It's like suddenly she's not the hunter anymore. She's the prey.
Exactly. And it's terrifying. But she has to rely on her smarts to get out of it, and believe it or not, Mr. Big plays a pretty important role.
Wait, seriously. Mr. Big, the Chihuahua.
Mr. Big the Chihuahua. Remember how Bruno is always telling him to kill? Well, let's just say he takes that command seriously.
That's amazing. And classic Ivanovich.
And Bruno Jug, well, he's not as clueless as he seems. He's a key part of making sure Zoran gets caught. It's like even the seemingly harmless characters can surprise you.
Okay, that's awesome. So Zoran's caught, Julie's safe. What about Stephanie? Where do we leave her at the end?
Well, she makes a choice. She chooses Morelli. Marries him, in fact.
She does. Wow, that's a big step. So is this the normal life she's been searching for? Can she actually do it?
That's the question, isn't it? I mean, she's married to a cop. Her life is never going to be truly normal.
And there's still Ranger. He's always going to be there.
Oh, yeah, that connection between them, that spark, it's not going away anytime soon.
I wonder how Ivanovich will play that out in the next books. So before we wrap up this part, let's circle back to this whole found family thing. It's so important in these books, and in this one especially.
It is, and it really shines through in Stephanie and Lulu's relationship. They might be totally different, but they're always there for each other.
Like sisters.
Totally. And then there's Stephanie and Grandma Mazur.
Oh, Grandma Mazur. She's something else.
Right. She might be meddling and a little crazy, but she loves Stephanie. And you can't ask for more than that.
True, true. What about the guys Morelli and Ranger? Do they fit into this found family idea?
That's an interesting question. I think they both do, but in different ways. Morelli represents that stability, that traditional family dynamic. While Ranger, he's more like the challenge, you know, the one who pushes you to grow.
I like that. So Stephanie's trying to figure out where she belongs in the world, what kind of family she wants to create.
Exactly. And that's never easy.
especially not in Stephanie Plum's world. So, where do we go from here? What's next in our deep dive?
Well, in part 3, we're going to really dig into that ending. What does it mean for Stephanie? What's next for her?
Ooh, I like it.
We're also going to talk more about some of those themes we've touched on, like Stephanie's constant battle between stability and excitement.
I'm ready when you are.
Let's do it.
Okay, so here we are, the final part of our deep dive into Now or Never. And I have to say, that ending really left me with a lot of questions.
It does, doesn't it? It's like, on the surface, it's a happy ending, right?
Yeah.
Zoran's behind bars, Julie's safe, Stephanie's married.
But it's Stephanie Plum, so you know it can't be that simple. What do you think about her choosing Morelli? I mean, was that really the right choice for her?
Well, I think for Stephanie at that moment, yeah, it made sense. She wants that normal life so badly. A nice house, a steady job, maybe even kids someday.
But Morelli's a cop. Her life is always going to be a little bit crazy.
Exactly, and that's the thing, right? Can Stephanie Plum actually handle normal? Or will she always be drawn to the chaos?
And then there's Ranger, who she didn't choose, but that connection they have.
It's powerful, and I don't think it's going away anytime soon. Ranger represents that wild side of Stephanie, the part of her that craves excitement and danger.
So is she always going to be torn between these two guys, these two very different lives?
I think that's the central conflict for Stephanie, not just in this book, but in the whole series,
Yeah.
is what makes her so relatable. You know, we all have those competing desires, those parts of ourselves that are constantly at war with each other.
So as we wrap up this deep dive into Now or Never, what do you think are the key takeaways for listeners?
Pay attention to the choices Stephanie makes, yeah, but also the ones she doesn't make. Because those choices, they really say a lot about who she is and who she's becoming.
And that theme of found family is so important. These books, they're not just about romance and crime. They're about the people who become your family, even if they're not related to you by blood.
Right. Lula, Grandma Mazur, even Connie and the guys at the bail bond office, they all become part of Stephanie's support system, her chosen family.
And of course, we have to give Janet Evanovich credit. She's a master at blending humor and suspense, keeping you laughing one minute and on the edge of your seat the next.
Absolutely. And she never gives you easy answers.
Yeah.
She leaves you thinking, questioning, wanting more. And that's the beauty of it.
So as we say goodbye to Now or Never, I think the main thing I'm taking away is that Stephanie Plum, she's always a work in progress. She's always evolving, always trying to figure things out.
And that's okay. I mean, aren't we all? Life's a journey, not a destination. And Stephanie's journey, well, it's just getting started.
On that note, I think it's time to wrap up this deep dive.
Thanks for joining us.
We'll see you next time, ready for another deep dive into the wacky world of Stephanie Plum.